Welcome back to the Turtle Wins the Race Home-Based Business Podcast. My name is Kara Buntin. I've owned a home-based business since 1999. You've closed yours. Uh-huh. We both used to do wedding cakes.
Yep.
And this is my friend Debby.
Hi.
Debbie has agreed to come and do a podcast with me so that we can talk about things that, it's interesting to have someone else's perspective, basically. Mm. So, yeah, look, she's got a whole list. She came with a list of stories. So let's just do the bad customer stories first.
The bad customer stories. Are we going to talk about Ice Cream Girl?
You can talk about anything you want. I kind of categorized them before into like types of customers.
Okay.
So you tell your story, and then I'll say what customer it was.
Okay.
Like based on the categories that we came up with before.
Okay.
Okay.
The first story, I had a couple in my house. I did tastings at my house because I was not that smart. And it hit me that day that wasn't necessarily a smart idea, because I got up, I was at the table talking to the bride, and the groom was sitting there completely stone-faced, nothing. And I was like, okay, it's wedding stuff and it's bored.
That's kind of normal for guys a lot of the time. Yeah. Yeah.
You have a point. So I went behind him to go get my cake dummies out of the cabinet, and I turned around and looked down, and he had 2 guns in the back of his waistband of his pants. And I thought, probably this, and I was alone at the house that day, and it kind of skeeved me out for a while. They didn't hire me, thank goodness, because can you imagine, I didn't like the cake. So
okay. I would say that is, number one, not a good situation.
Right.
Okay. But that would be the you were dismissed. No, that's the customer that you are interviewing and you don't hire.
Very much so.
And I forget what category I put them in, but because I was talking about the last time I talked about bad customers. Mm-hmm. It was this woman who was like the country club lady. Mm-hmm. Who they walk in and you're not going to get along with this person.
Oh yeah, because
the minute that they just walk in mm-hmm. with their snooty energy.
Yes, and looking down at you and
mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the kind of, I think that was the you were my servant / you were dismissed. Mm-hmm. I don't think they would have come in with 2 guns in the waistband
blazing. Yeah.
But yeah, that's when you interview somebody and you fire them.
Yeah, I suddenly realized I was booked up for their weekend, and I was very sad.
Yeah, I'm sure you were very sad.
Yes.
Very sad.
And the category I would put that in, felony.
It could be. That wasn't one that I had, but yeah.
But yeah, special circumstance.
Special circumstance felony.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next on our list.
Let's see. I had a momzilla, mother of the bride, very controlling, very opinionated, just real bossy woman. And her daughter, oh my gosh, her daughter was just so sweet and so quiet. I don't know if she was just beat down from a lifetime of mom or if that was just her personality. But it was obvious at the tasting that mom did not approve of groom.
Oh.
So, okay, whatever, that's your drama. And it got to the point that mom would call me, and instead of, checking up about the cake or discussing, whatever, she starts bashing the groom to me. I'm like, I'm not your family therapist here. Y'all need to go settle that.
Has she hired you to do the cake?
Yes, I was hired. So that's why I took the calls, because, I thought, oh, it's her. She wants to talk about color scheme or whatever.
Yeah.
But, in hindsight, the mother was right, because like a year after the wedding, the bride came home, picked up the baby from the sitter and came home early from work and caught him with someone. So, I hated that the mother was right. I really hate it for the bride. Like I said, she was a sweet, sweet woman, and, single motherhood can't be fun, but, I was like, I'm not the family counselor. You need to go call somebody. Call Dr. Phil. I don't know. Just
call anybody.
Call anybody. Here, call Kara.
No, don't call me. Don't call me. I'm always telling people, if you get a customer like that, refer them to someone you don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I already had their money.
Yeah, I know. It's too late for that.
Yeah.
What did you ever have to fire a customer after they had actually hired you? Did you ever like just cut ties and refund money? Because I've done that. I told the story of you remember the quinceañera cake?
Yes.
Yes, that was a good one. But I fired the sister of the person that had bought the quinceañera cake, who had hired me to do her wedding.
Okay.
And when I refunded the cake, I said, and I'm not doing your cake, and here's your money back too. And so I have done that before.
Okay.
But did you ever have to do that?
I don't recall doing that, but let me think. I cut ties with a customer and kept their money.
Oh,
because,
yeah, I've done that too.
Yeah, because they violated, several terms of their contract. And, when every single one of your vendors hates you, and don't think that vendors don't talk to each other, because we do.
Yeah.
The venue hated her, and I think the caterer hated her. So, yeah, I sent her the canceled contract and copies of where she had initialed, the different sections that she had violated. And I said, girl, bye. And so fiance left a 1-star Google rating on me, so.
Oh, well.
Life goes on.
Yeah.
So I think they eventually had a destination wedding. So it's bad when everybody in town hates you so much you have to go to Barbados.
Did I ever tell you about the woman this was another mother of the bride? Okay. The mothers are terrible, you guys.
Sometimes.
The mothers, yeah. I mean, I usually didn't have problems with the brides. It was with the mothers. Okay. They were insane. But this one woman, this bride called me and said, my mother has been going behind me at every appointment and then calling and changing the details.
No.
And she only found out about it because the custom wedding dress that she had bought and had designed for her, the mother called the dressmaker and said, I want to make these changes. And the dressmaker called the bride and said, did you approve this? And that's the only reason she found out, because nobody called. No other vendors called. And I said, I have not heard from your mother yet. But she said, well, we're canceling the wedding and we're eloping and she's not invited. So, hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I put a clause in my contract after that said the bride is the only person who can change details regardless of who has paid. Because a lot of times the parents would pay and then they think they can call and make all the shots.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
They do. That's the beauty of paying for your own wedding.
Yeah, that's right. Get that straight. If you're a bride, pay for your own wedding.
Yeah.
You don't have to take input.
That's right.
Yeah.
I did it 30 years ago. So.
Yeah, I did it too. So
good for us.
Yeah, good for us. There we go. Pay for your own stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
Be an adult. Sorry, that was kind of snarky.
That was accurate. Okay. Next story.
Kara knows this story so well. So I had a booth at a bridal show, and this girl came up and said, I want an ice cream cake for our wedding. And I said, oh, okay. So you mean like vanilla, chocolate, strawberry? No, I want an ice cream cake. And so I tried to gently explain to her, it's just not possible for me to do that, or for anyone to do that. And she couldn't understand why. And I said, I'd have to have a walk-in freezer to decorate this, which I don't have. And even if I did, then I would need to get a freezer truck to get it to your reception. And even if I had that, it's going to melt at your reception. She says, but we have air conditioning at the hall. And I was like, well, cool. Air conditioning is usually 70 degrees. You need it to be 32. And so she kept arguing with me, and I said, that you can have your caterer put a scoop of ice cream next to each slice. No, and so she got really wound up, and she stomped her little foot at me and said, but I want it. And that's when my filter shut off. And before I could stop myself, I said, and I want a pony, and that ain't happening either.
That's not so bad either.
No.
It could have been worse.
It could have been worse. It could have been worse.
Yeah.
And her mother was behind her giving me the evil eye, like, how dare you kill my baby's dreams, you know? And at that point, I'm giving the mother the evil eye, like, how dare you raise such an entitled idiot, you know? So, you know, the girl was like, but that's what I want. And I said, I am so sorry that the laws of science are inconvenient for you.
Yeah.
But unless you're going to get married at that ice hotel that's in, I think, Iceland, of all places, I said, or you're going to have your reception at Dairy Queen. It's not going to happen.
She might have ended up at Dairy Queen. Because I don't know anybody else who's going to do an ice cream. I had somebody actually call and ask, I think it was the mother of the bride, my daughter is getting married on the beach and she wants an ice cream cake. And I just burst into laughter. And she said, I want you to tell her that. Because she had clearly had this conversation with the bride and she wouldn't listen.
Oh my gosh.
Probably the same girl, you know, except that the mother was giving you the stink eye. So maybe not.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's people. Yeah. She's a special type who, like you said, the laws of physics do not apply.
Right. Yeah. I had another bride. She called and I was in the car and one of my kids was in the car with me. So he was being quiet and had her on speakerphone, you know, safety first. So I'm driving along and she said like she wanted her cake. They wanted to get married in this meadow in July here in Virginia. Okay. Sweet.
Yeah.
And she saw a picture on Pinterest, of course, and the cake was sitting on a tree stump. And that's what she wanted because she wanted people to walk by the cake and admire the beauty of it. Before the ceremony, I was like, they're going to poke their fingers in it. But okay. Yeah. So, all right. And I said, okay, well, in July, you really need to have fondant. And I took a breath to explain why. And she jumped in. She was like, look, you're just trying to upsell me. And you know, I want what I want, and quit trying to sell me things that I don't want and that I don't need. And I said, well, actually, you do need it because bugs are going to stick to your buttercream and it's going to melt before the reception. And that's just, you know, you're not going to have a tent over it. It's going to melt and you're going to be crying. And so she went on how I was just trying to take advantage of her and she's winding up and getting louder. And she says, okay, so really the question is, are you going to make my cake or are you not? And I said, no. And my kid in the seat's like, and it was like, you know, 3 seconds of total silence. And she goes, no. And I said, no, I'm not. And she goes, well, you know, she was like a deflated balloon. She was like, well, thank you for your time. I'm like, click, bye. So
I used that story, but you told it much better with more detail because I didn't know it was an outdoor wedding in July on a stump.
We'll call her the Stumpy Bride.
I forget what I called that in my, I would have to look it up. Okay. But yeah, that was a beautiful moment where you just said no.
No.
Yeah. It's probably the first time anybody ever told her no. That's the amazing thing to me.
Yeah. You know, I mean, even though it was kind of a pain sometimes for us to deal with these people, I felt sorry for the guys that these girls were marrying.
Oh my God.
You know?
Did you ever have grooms who were the problem? Because I've had grooms. The first one that comes to mind is the one who wanted me to rewrite my contract for them. We are willing, I think he actually said, we are willing to hire you if you change these pieces of your contract.
Was he an attorney?
Yes, he was.
He was a contract attorney.
Oh, could be.
Yes, because they came to me too.
Okay, good, because I said no.
And I said no. Because when he got to my place, he started saying, okay, so, all right, what if the weather is bad and blah, 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 you know, then do we, you know, then would you refund our money? I'm like, no. And then he kept coming up with more and more.
He probably read my contract. Yeah. I had all that stuff in my contract. Yeah. It was ridiculous. Yeah. The stuff in my contract. It was so ridiculous. Yeah.
It was like more and more ridiculous scenarios. You know? Well, then would you refund my money? And I'm like, yeah, you know,
no.
This check, you can, because they had just given me the deposit. And I was like, yeah, you need to just go. So
did they hire you or not?
I gave them their deposit check, right?
Yeah. So
right then and there. Well, we were still at the tasting.
Yeah.
And a retainer check. Yeah. It was a retainer. And I was like, yeah, bye. Good luck.
I think that I called these are the customers that it's not going to get better after they pay you. Mm-mm. It is only going to get worse. And because somebody in my group had said something about firing or like this customer, I know. It was the story. It was a repeat customer who bought everything all the time, right? It was like they came back and bought multiple things.
Okay.
But they always left 4-star reviews, not a 5-star, which it's not a big deal, but on Etsy it is because it drops your star rating and then it affects other things in search placement.
Yeah.
So it's okay. But they would also say, I liked this, but, and then they would post a list of grievances about like what was wrong with this thing, like for every single thing. Right. And they're like, what should I do? And I said, just tell her that you can't take any more orders from her. But people in the group were saying, this is a repeat customer. You should do everything you want to retain them and keep them coming back. And I'm like, no, if they piss you off every single time you see their name in your orders, it's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
No,
it's not worth it. My husband he's much nicer than I am. And he would say, you need to, do this to be more accommodating and you need to do that. And you need to, I was like, yeah, you need to shut up. But, it's like a spidey sense, it does not get better. And the profit margin on cakes was not enough to justify, the hassle that you would go through.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
that's what I said. It's how much is the mental energy that you're putting into this worth too, because you're not making enough money to justify that kind of like, every time you see their name, you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Or you see them on the caller ID, you're like, oh, kill me now. I have to talk to this person.
Yep.
She just wants to gripe about her son-in-law, right?
Yeah. Yep.
That's what happens.
Yep. I had one groom that he came to the tasting. Okay, cool. And he was saying, we need to do something about the price. And I'm like,
you can pay it.
There you go. Yeah. And he goes on to tell me, we have just overspent our budget by so much. We don't know what to do. And I said, cut your guest list. That's how you cut your wedding expenses. You cut your guest list. Mm-hmm. End of story. No, that's impossible. And I was like, well, okay. Well, again, here's the price. No, because, we're having it at X venue, which is a fabulous venue. You came to my birthday party there.
It is a fabulous venue and very expensive.
Yes. And we've overspent our budget by thousands. And I thought, and you're griping at me over, $400 or whatever it is. Yeah, I was like, you got to go. Bye.
Because, they're just going to come back. You can tell. And you always, it might not be something that you can tell right away. And this does translate to selling online. Mm-hmm. It's not just in-person sales. If you get a sense from somebody, if they're sending you multiple messages that is weird, right?
Yeah.
If they're sending you just strange questions, you can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Don't take the order.
Yeah.
Just don't. It's not worth it.
Your spidey sense will never fail you.
Trust
ever.
it. All right. Anything else?
That's all I can think of at the moment, except for the very pregnant bride who rubbed her very pregnant belly with olive oil at my table. Yeah. She was...
Did she just lift her shirt up and start rubbing her belly? Or was she wearing a tube top?
No, she lifted up her shirt. She was, I don't know how many months.
You have to keep hydrating there.
Yeah. So she was, while we're talking, she's scratching and scratching. She had the belly itches. Okay, I get it. Yeah. And she said, I'm so sorry. I don't have anything. I don't know what to do. And I said, olive oil, will help that.
Oh, you gave her the olive oil.
Yeah. So she was like, great, do you have any? I was like, yeah, I guess I walked into this, haven't I? So I gave her a cotton ball, some olive oil, and she lifted up her shirt and was rubbing her belly. And, we continued on. And I made their cake and they loved it. And happily ever after.
Wedding cake business is so romantic and it's so beautiful.
It is. I cried tears of joy every day.
Oh my God. The stuff that happens. I had one girl who, don't you love it when they all come to the tastings hungover? Because I did all mine on Saturday mornings.
I never had that.
You didn't?
No.
Oh my God. I had one guy that came so hungover and he was like, I'm really hungover. And,
Cool.
and I said, I have no sympathy for you.
Yeah.
I'm like, you did that to yourself. No sympathy from me. You get nothing. And so the bride is like, aren't you going to eat anything? And this guy is just about to lose it. And I was like, here, have some cake,
Oh, yeah, that'll help.
Yeah. Enjoy. I had no sympathy for him. But that happened pretty frequently. They all came in, they're like, oh, we're so hungover. I'm like, you guys are gross. You're gross.
I don't think I had that.
Really?
I don't remember that. I had like this one bride that brought her child to the tasting.
God.
Which I had all over my website.
That's, yeah.
And during the initial phone call, do not bring your children because.
Yeah.
And so I opened the door and she's there with her 5-6-year-old daughter. Mm-hmm. And you could see the surprise on my face. And the bride said, yeah, she didn't want to go to school today. So red flags, you don't let the child dictate things. But so I said, well, come on in. And while we're trying to talk, the bride and I, I'm trying to talk business. And, the little girl is yelling and trying to run circles around my house. Mm-hmm. And I said, my house is no longer childproof. Please keep her in this room. Mm-hmm. And so then we got to the tasting part and the little girl, shared her mom's plate and she barely touched her tongue to something, threw the spoon down and said, this is yucky. And she didn't hire me. And again, I was sad. So,
did you cry all day?
Tears of joy, yeah. But yeah.
I once had people show up with like 4 or 5 kids, and they came in, and I said, luckily they were early too, and it was like 3 adults and all these kids, and I'm like, I have 3 chairs in my office, and I said, you're going to have to wait outside if you don't mind because you're early, and the last people are still here, and they just got in the car and drove away. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sad. Oh my God. Yeah. And then one woman told me that if I would not welcome her children in because it's part of the wedding experience, and they all want to be part of the decision making. And I'm like, oh, hell no.
Are they paying for it?
No.
Are the kids getting married?
I'm going to pay for it if I let them all come in, Yeah. But she said if I wasn't willing to let her children participate, then she could not hire me. And I'm like, oh, okay, bye.
Yeah, cool. Bye. Yeah.
Customers, you don't have to take every job. Customers are not all worth it.
No, they're not.
No.
And before you say we hate children, no, we don't.
We like well-behaved children.
We like well-behaved children. And then there's just certain times and places where it's just not appropriate.
Yeah. And this is a business meeting.
It's a business meeting.
Yeah.
Your child is going to, if your child participates in the tasting without thinking it's yucky, they're going to get on a sugar buzz right then and there. And it's just going to make it worse. And you can't concentrate, we're asking the bride to make decisions right then and there. You can't do it with,
It's too much.
It is way too much.
It's too much for everyone.
It is.
Yeah.
You got another story?
There was something. Oh, I'll end it with this one.
Okay.
I had one bride who came, and I think she was physically sick. I don't think that she was hungover, although I could be wrong. But about halfway through the appointment, she got up and ran outside and barfed in the bushes. And I hear Bob in there laughing. He's laughing. Yeah, so she did not hire me. I think she was embarrassed. But I was thinking, if I had barfed in the bushes outside someone's office, I probably wouldn't want to see them again either.
No, I can't.
Okay. And then the story that I will end this on. So our friend she was like the coordinator for this hotel in Richmond. Very snooty hotel, very high end, super expensive. She said one bride came in and asked if they could repaint the ballroom to match her color scheme. It was that kind of clientele. And she said, no, they can't. All right. But she said this one girl was so obnoxious the whole time. And the mother of the bride was so obnoxious. And she had to deal with them. She had to be polite. Because you're working for someone else. It's not like it's but you can't fire this bride. She's hired the hotel. She's going to be there. And then comes the wedding day. And the bride was so nervous that right before the doors to the ballroom opened and she was supposed to go in, she threw up all down the front of her dress.
Oh my gosh.
And he said, I laughed a little inside. And then I tried to help her clean up a little bit. Dab, dab, dab. Yeah.
It's so coming out. Oh my God.
Sometimes people get their karma. Sometimes it does work.
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
So just, but that has nothing to do with anything. It was just
a good story.
It's just a really good story. Okay. So that's some more bad customer stories. And these types of customers will show up online. It could be online. It could be in person. We don't know. They exist.
Yeah.
They live in the world. Mm-hmm. So you don't have to take every job.
Nope. You don't.
So, okay. So I'm going to end this one. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, or if you didn't, give it a thumbs down. I don't care. It's all engagement, right? I don't even look at the thumbs downs, honestly.
Really?
No, YouTube doesn't care. It doesn't care.
Oh.
It's interesting. It's more to tell YouTube what you don't want to watch than saying this video sucks.
Oh.
So give it a thumbs up or down. I don't care. But we're going to talk about being friends with people that you meet through your industry next.
Hey.
So we'll put that one up next week. And I will talk to you later.
Bye.